don't need a high-end designer or a lot of money to get a luxe look. Be your own interior designer.
This is Affordable Interior Design, the podcast.
Here's your host, Betsy Helmuth.
My next email comes from Pia. Pia is located in Sweden, and she writes, "Hi, Betsy and team. I would love some help with our laundry room. We will redo all the floors in our basement and then fix our depressing laundry room. I got the floor plan to where I want it, and I have my style. It's Homey Mid-Century. So to my question, how to think about these countertops, cabinet fronts, pulls, color, and lighting in a dark, depressing utilitarian space. Especially lighting. The ceilings are low. I get that it's never going to look pretty, and with all the plumbing and concrete, I'm just going for something warm and homey that does not depress me. Any help would be most appreciated." Well, Pia, thank you so much for sending in pictures in addition to your questions, because they really help to illustrate the situation. And yes, right now, your laundry room is a little depressing. It has exposed pipes at the top. It appears to have concrete floors. It has a very utilitarian sink. It looks like you're going to be doing some pretty big renovations to it in terms of installing cabinetry and in terms of sort of making things feel more cohesive, maybe even boxing out those pipes. I just have a rendering here, so I don't have a sense of all of that is going to happen, but I think the idea is a very good one because right now it's so industrial, so exposed that it would be hard to just put lipstick on this little piggy without doing something more invasive. So I'm really excited that you're planning on doing some cabinetry, some countertops, etc. I think that the laundry room or small rooms in general, this even applies to, say, a powder room or even a mud room or even a small entryway. I think that small spaces are the perfect place to go bold, to have some fun, to be a little experimental, a little loud, because it is so small that it's not going to be overwhelming. And if you're feeling like this space is dark, depressing, gloomy, then let's make it more inspiring. Let's have some fun. Now, one thing I do want to mention is that I can see that the laundry room opens up to a curving staircase that does have some wallpaper. It does appear to be really well designed and really thoughtful. So I wouldn't want the laundry room necessarily to not relate at all to that area. You might want to have it share a style. You might want to have it share some parts of that 60-30-10 color palette. So that way it feels like a cohesive extension of that stairway and not just a strange anomaly fun room, right? One thing that I love to see in a laundry room, which some people don't always think about, is I love to see a backsplash, especially if you have a slop sink. It just makes sense that in an area that would have a lot of water or splashing or just, a lot of movement, soap, potential spills, a backsplash can be not only a really good functional thing to add, but also it can add a lot of color, vibrancy, playfulness. You can take a chance and do something in a bold color. You could take a chance and do something in a fun print, right? They have a lot of printed tiles that I'm finding really inspiring these days. Then, of course, if your floors are painted concrete, they might have a drain or something like that. It might make it a little bit more difficult if it's pitched to add tile. You wouldn't want to do anything like a carpeting, but I could definitely see painting the concrete in a less concretey color. Maybe we want to avoid the gray. They also have these really great things called vinyl rugs or oilcloth rugs, which I don't know if they have them in Sweden, but it's kind of a thing that's coming up right now in the United States. And it's very flat, almost like a plasticky placemat, but it has the design of a rug. It can get wet. It kind of adheres to the floor, not stickiness per se, but it doesn't shift around too much. And lots of different brands are offering them. They're quite durable and they come in all sorts of exciting patterns and sizes. So, those would definitely be some thoughts. The other thing I would think about if it's dark in here is to get an overhead light fixture, because I see you do have options for overheads. Get an overhead light fixture that has multiple bulbs, and then be sure to put it on a full range dimmer, because just because it could get really bright in here doesn't mean you always want it at max brightness. The one thing I would recommend is staying away from any tchotchkes, staying away from any lamps on the surface. I don't do laundry in my house, my husband does. But I would imagine that if we had a nice laundry room like this, because right now we just have the basement and he brings it upstairs to fold. But if we had a nice laundry room with a big countertop, he would want that totally free for all of his folding, etc. So those are a few ideas for you, Pia, but I definitely think you can take that homey mid-century vibe and bring it down here. Whether it's in one of the mod patterns that you showed me, I think the pattern you showed me might be a wallpaper. And I'm totally open to using wallpaper. Just make sure that it's vinyl wallpaper so that it is more washable, more forgiving of water splatters, soap splatters, etc. Well, Pia, you're going to have to keep us posted because I want to see before and after pics when this laundry room is complete. A big thank you to Aton and the Embassy who wrote our theme song. A shout out to Catherine Heller who owns the podcast shop and is our editor extraordinaire. We also want to thank Ginny Sunasan and her team at the Savvy Podcast Agency for their help with our social, our YouTube channel, and so much more. We also want to thank Uploft, which is our parent company who supports this podcast. And lastly, we owe a huge debt of gratitude to you. Thank you so much for tuning in and for all your support.